Welcome everybody to Impact Norman. This is our inaugural issue of our new advocacy email. Once a month, you're going to get up-to-date, current, inside information about what's going on at City Hall, the state capitol, even in our Congress. We want to bring you insightful stories and opportunities to engage in the policies that really make a difference in your businesses and in the lives of Normanites all across our community. So this is our inaugural issue, so I'd like to remind you about a texting platform that we happen to have. So pull out your phones right now and make sure that you text Norman Chamber 1, that's the number 1, to 95577. Norman Chamber 1 to 95577. With that, you'll be signed up to receive up-to-date current texting about events, special opportunities, and call to action times when we need you to engage with your elected officials. So, let's get to our program. We are very excited to have with us Norman's new mayor, Breea Clark. We couldn't think of a better guest to have on our inaugural issue of Impact Norman. Mayor Clark, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
No, I appreciate the invitation. I'm excited with what you're doing with this video to reach more people and engage our businesses and our residents, so it's an honor to be here.
So we're about a week and a half, 2 weeks into your term. How's it going?
I think it's going well. You know, I had the 4th of July. I got to lead a parade, fun stuff happening. And I think a lot of people were kind of surprised to realize that my swearing in was July 2nd because the election was February 12th. So I like to joke that presidents get sworn in faster than I did.
They do.
Which deals with our charter, and we have a charter review commission that's starting to meet to make some updates and some changes, and moving up the swearing in date will be on that list.
Awesome. Well, now you mentioned you had a campaign, so people got to get to know you better, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, well, thank you for that opportunity. So I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas, which is a prairie, so it's always a fun story to mention that my first board with the city was the tree board, because again, I'm from a giant prairie. It's very educational. But I moved here in 2005 for law school. So that was one of my big kind of issues that I would bring up when people asked, you know, well, why would we want someone who works for the university, which I'll tell you a little bit about what I do in a minute, on the city council, let alone as mayor. But we often talk about trying to retain that young talent that the university attracts, and I am that person. You know, I came here for law school, fell in love with Norman, bought my first home here, and had some Okie babies. So Norman is my new adopted hometown.
Well, you and I have that in common. Granted, I'm from Oklahoma, but wasn't born and raised in Norman. Came to OU and have stayed. This is home.
So when people talk about, oh, well, you can't expect to keep every student, no, I don't think we could, you know, maintain keeping every student, but we can keep a lot of great talent here, and I'm definitely in yourself for a story for that. Absolutely. So I work at the university. I helped create the Office of Academic Integrity Programs, more commonly known as cheating. Okay. So surprisingly, it was a great foundation for politics. I have very thick skin because I was the face of people's consequences, so as you can imagine, well loved on campus.
Very popular.
Very popular, very popular. But my whole perspective and foundation and leadership is with integrity, and it's all because of that unique perspective that I had. And not many people can say they had the opportunity to create a Big 12 office at an institution like OU, but I did, and I'm very proud of the legacy that I will leave behind with that. But recently, I have shifted over to the JCPenney Leadership Center in the Price College of Business. So when I get asked, well, what do you teach? It's like, well, I teach leadership, and before that, I taught integrity. So it's a good story. But again, those two things have been the focus of my career, and I'm incredibly lucky to work with these talented young people and the dedicated faculty and staff on that campus. And I think I've worked out my conflict of interest forms now that I have a new role, but I think we all see the opportunity. And, you know, people have asked, well, is OU going to influence the decisions you make on council? I'm like, well, the JCPenney Leadership Center is kind of a small department and a much bigger picture, so I'm not concerned about that at all. And I think it's time to rebuild that relationship with the university, frankly. And I think I am in the best position to do that. I obviously love my city, and I love the university. I wouldn't be here without it. And I'm committed to making sure neither steps on the other one, and we really, truly create a partnership moving forward, which will benefit everyone.
You aren't the first mayor or council member to have worked for the university, so we have a history of that.
We do, because I think it's because you find some of the most active, dedicated, and passionate people on that campus. So I'm excited to have them engage in local government. I'd love to have more students involved in local government. So starting in September, I actually have a student resident roundtable. It'll be similar to the Mayor's Roundtable, but it'll include OU students and also high school students and middle school students from all of our schools, not just Norman Public Schools. So I'm very excited about that.
And there's also a youth council that's getting ready to kick off in the near future, is that right?
There is. That's a program that's done by the City of Norman, and it involves sophomores, juniors, or seniors in our high schools, and they get to participate in monthly meetings where they visit a lot of the facilities that, let's be honest, most Normanites don't visit unless there's a problem,
Right.
or an engaging council member has some tour and they want to see where their tax dollars have gone to.
Sure.
So these students will have a real edge on what local government is, which you may have heard me say it before, the most important level of government, because the decisions that we make on the second and fourth Tuesday impact residents in a much faster and meaningful way right away than decisions made in Oklahoma City or Washington, D.C. So the applications for that are open through, I think, the end of July, and there's information on that actually on the website, normanok.gov. We are working on revamping our website, and that'll be within the next year. But right now, under how do I think it actually has a tab that says apply to youth council, so easy to find. And we'd love to have as many people participating as possible.
Very cool. Now, we first met a few years ago when you were very involved with the PTA.
That's right. So when I first ran for City Council in 2016, I was able to point to the Library Board and the Tree Board and the Norman Forward Sales Tax Citizen Financial Oversight Board, still a mouthful, but a lot of my community leadership was in PTA. And so I would get asked, well, why don't you run for the school board? And the answer is because I'm running for City Council. But there's a strong correlation with, I think, the values that Oklahomans place on education. And so PTA is actually the oldest child advocacy organization in the nation. So I helped start the PTA at Reagan Elementary, where my oldest son went. I helped revitalize the Norman PTA Council, and that was really my first citywide leadership position. And I know a lot about all of our schools, which is an interesting kind of fun fact about myself. And so my youngest will start at Adams, and I'm really excited about that because I know what a great school that they are. Every school has its strengths and every school has its challenges. But here's a great thing that I'm really excited about. My first official comments as mayor, no longer mayor-elect, to a convention to the city of Norman is the state PTA convention.
Okay, fantastic.
Friday. Well, yeah.
Soon.
It's soon, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great that the PTA, state PTA is coming in our community, which is not surprising considering that we are able to host a ton of awesome conferences in Norman with Embassy Suites or other facilities that we have here and right off the highway. So we have a lot of people that want to pick Norman to have their conferences
exactly.
here. So that's cool.
It's such a fun town. You know, I have two boys. My oldest is 12, my youngest is 5. My husband's an electrician. He works in Oklahoma City at Integris Baptist, and he's jealous he doesn't work in Norman because that drive is brutal.
Someday.
We'll go lots of good construction, you know. But you'll often see our family out and about enjoying the great parts of Norman. Art Walk is one of our favorites. Summer Breeze, the City of Festivals, youth sports, the libraries. You know, I often say, if you are bored in Norman, that is your own fault because there's so much going on all the time.
So you've kind of given us the official bio. Tell us a little fun fact that somebody would probably, have no idea about.
Okay, Derry Stacy might know this because I brag about it. I am a 3-time Best of Show scrapbooking winner at the Cleveland County Fair.
Okay, that's awesome. Very cool. So 3 times. Are you going for the 4th time this fall?
I do enter still. It keeps me on my game, but I've been a little busy the past few years. So in the world of scrapbooking, my 5-year-old is an infant. So I'm a little behind.
I hear you.
But they don't hold that against me. But yeah, I enjoy it, and I think everyone should participate in the Cleveland County Fair. You know, Norman has so many strengths, and I think one of them is that we are the Cleveland County seat. And everything from the healthy living block that's coming to the improvements they're making to the fairgrounds, there's a lot of great opportunities that we benefit from being the county seat.
I couldn't agree with you more. And the really cool thing about your story, I think, is that people tend to lose sight that a public official is something different than themselves, but you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a business person. You're just like everybody else is in town, right?
Probably a little busier, but yeah.
Right. Your Tuesday nights are run late.
That's right.
But you go to the park, you go to a concert, you're at the ball field, whatever the case may be, you're experiencing life like everybody else in town.
And that's, I think, another great attribute of local government is the people that are representing you are the people that you'll see at the ball fields, that are at the same parks as you, that you run into at the store. So we're living the same community experiences, both good and bad, as the average resident. So I think that helps us connect us and do a better job.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's get in a little nitty gritty then, okay? Tell us about your vision. I mean, you've been on council for a few years, newly elected to be our mayor. And you have it's a short window. I mean, 3 years is a term for mayor in Norman. There's a lot to accomplish and a lot to do, but share with us a little bit about what your plans are.
Well, first, I'd really like to thank Lynn Miller for her service because she worked tirelessly the last 3 years, had some difficult times, but her hard work put us in a position to be successful for these next 3 years. And I've always been appreciative of her mentorship, and she's done a great job, and I'm grateful for her service to our community. But a lot of the things she helped us with are Norman Forward. You know, there were unforeseeable challenges. For example, I've been reading Mick Cornett's The Next American City, and I have to tell you, I was encouraged to hear that Maps 1 had some dilemmas at the beginning, too. So I was like, okay, good.
And barely passed, I think, the first time, right?
But it did, and then they had some delays and hiccups, but now they're discussing Maps 4, and I hope we can continue to do that, but we've got to continue to build that trust and fulfill with our promises. And so we've had a few curves in the road, but I think we've been able to move forward. But it has been slow the past couple of years. Some projects have been incredibly successful in moving forward. The East Branch Library, the Central Library, I'm hoping October. The public art dedication is coming up. But the skate park, another one coming online quickly. But the senior center, you know, we have to be dedicated to all of our residents in Norman. And I think any good community, if you have a checklist of what they have within it, a good senior center is top on that list for sure in certain areas. And I think that we need to follow through with that. And we finally have a location for Reeves Park. You can't say we didn't do our due diligence on that one. So I'm excited to move forward with that. We put together the ad hoc committee for our multi-sports facility and aquatic center. Still some details to work out there, but I'm happy with the direction that's going in. You know, you talk about conventions and conferences, and Norman's a great place to have these things. Sports tourism is another great piece. So I'm excited to see that develop and evolve. And while I'm excited about sports tourism and the revenue options from the sales tax benefits there, these are promises we made to Norman residents. And it's not just a promise to Norman residents, it's a need at this point. You know, we've worked with the University of Oklahoma for their swim complex for so long, and it's on its last leg. The Optimist Club gym is on its last leg. And, you know, I love, you had made some comments at a meeting where you remember when you were, or someone was, you know, grew up there as a kid and played there, and we can do better than that. And I think Norman residents believe that too, and that's why Norman Forward passed the way that it did, but it's time to follow through. So I'm very excited about moving forward with those projects right away. We also have a unique opportunity with our sales tax right now. It's currently 8.75%. A quarter of that goes towards the county jail, which is built, and I appreciate the Cleveland County commissioners being such good stewards of those tax dollars. They were able to pay it off, and it will sunset in March 2020, but the needs of our community have continued to grow. For example, CART, the bus system that our partners at OU so generously gifted to us, we now have to find a way to pay for it, and this is a blessing that the timing has worked out the way that it has. I believe the county wants to keep half of that, 1/4, so 1/8% towards jail maintenance and operations, and I'm invested in making sure that our officers are in a safe working environment and our prisoners are treated humanely in a safe environment, as well as the juvenile detention center, same concerns, and I think a grant program for rural fire departments, which being as big and as rural as more than half of Norman is, I'm excited about all of those projects, and I know that we're committed to, again, a healthy work environment and all of that, so that's for that 1/8. The other 1/8, for us to be about $2.5 million a year. I would like to see that dedicated towards public transportation, and there's lots of other opportunities there as well. We've been asked, well, what about stormwater? We've been asked about what are we doing to support growing jobs in Norman and investing in the future? Because I believe we can invest in Norman now, or we can invest in the Norman that we want, and I'm committed to that. But we need to figure out what that looks like, because the timeline is short, November. So we're just making sure people don't miss the polls, you know, keeping them voting somewhat regularly. But I want to make sure it's presented as a package deal So it's very easy to understand for voters that that's going away, and this is what will replace it, even though it will be 2 ballots because one will be county and one will be Norman. So my colleagues and I are working hard to figure out what that looks like, and there will be, I'm sure, several meetings coming forward and to discuss that further.
We are very supportive of job retention and creation, and we know that quality of life is a big part of that. So when you couple the opportunity to provide a quality transportation system around our community for those that need it and those who just want to access it on a regular basis, that along with the opportunity to grow jobs and to retain those that we have, and talk about those young professionals that you mentioned earlier, making sure that they stay in our community like you and I did.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity to marry both of those issues.
It really is. You know, I like in the book that I was reading from Mayor Cornett, businesses create jobs and governments create places that businesses want to be. So it really is a partnership, and I'm excited to expand on that. And speaking of partnerships, that's another one of my long-term goals. We're the county seat, we're the home to the flagship university. We have a significant amount of state property within the Norman city limits. And I think to be the most effective city government that we can be, we need to have working, pleasant relationships with everybody, because it can often be a win-win situation. Right. And I'm much more collaborative than I am competitive. Trust me, I'm plenty competitive. Another fun fact, we have a trophy for family game night that we get engraved with the winner of that year.
Really? Okay.
So
that's intense. That's
good.
good.
That's right. But again, we can accomplish more when we work together, and I firmly believe that. And so I'm willing to do my part to make sure that Norman's working with Oklahoma City and Tulsa. I did tell Mayor Holt there are 3 big cities in Oklahoma, and I look forward to my seat at the table. So
that's right.
he's prepared.
That's good.
But then also our Nobles and our Purcells and our Moores, and building these relationships. Same thing with the county, same thing with the university. It doesn't always have to be a competition. It could be a collaboration that we all benefit from.
So an issue that I've heard about for years in our community, and particularly from our businesses, even from city council members who are business owners, is the way that the city reviews development process, inspections, permitting, those kinds of things. Can you tell us a little bit about what the city's doing to address that issue?
Sure, that is something I'm confident every council member has paid attention to, because we've all got complaints about it. It hasn't even just been the businesses that are new, that are building. It's been businesses that are adding on. It's been residents wanting to build a home. Yeah. So it's all across the board, and we're all aware of it. We did approve a contract with some consultants to come in and review and audit the process. We should have those results hopefully relatively soon. And to help kind of execute their recommendations, I have decided to bring back the Business and Community Affairs Committee.
Great.
A small business owner and wonderful community advocate, Sarita Wilson, council member for Ward 5, will be heading that up. I think she will be incredibly efficient and effective in that role, because she too has dealt with the permitting. Yep. So I think having those results with the committee to help streamline the changes that we need to make is really going to be helpful. And then on top of that, we are actually renovating the municipal complex. It was linked to the bond money from 2008, so everyone thought it was coming, but when? But now that we've decided on Reeves Park for the senior center, we're able to move forward with this. So many dominoes in this town that we've just had to just get one going, and we're there. But as we know, the brand new library, which is gorgeous. I had a tour of it recently with Norman Next. I'm so excited, so excited. But when that opens in hopefully October, that leaves the current library, and it will no longer be a senior center. And so the city has worked really hard to maximize the space. And we're looking at, and I'm going to get the term wrong, so I hope Terry Floyd's not mad at me, but like a development center. And so not only does it free up space for our other growing departments, it becomes user-friendly and focused on customer service. So imagine if you go to City Hall and you've got money in your hand, be it to pay your water bill, to get a special event permit, or licensing and inspection. You go to one building. You no longer have to go here for that, or here for that, or here for that. So I think the residents are really going to appreciate that change. So on top of auditing our processes and how we execute the licensing and inspecting, creating more committees to move these changes along faster, and then actually changing what we look like as a physical setup, I'm confident in the next 3 years we're going to see some positive changes in this process.
That is a great idea, to have a one-stop shop to meet everybody's needs and provide really top-notch customer service. It's just fantastic. So I applaud you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
So Center City, you know, here we sit, we're in the chamber offices today, we're right on Gray Street, downtown Norman. There's been a revitalization in downtown, the core part of Norman, the last 10 years roughly.
Oh, yes.
The city, not too long ago, took a really neat, proactive effort to update our codes and to have form-based code in this area to try to implement and push a desired outcome here, dense housing, dense development. And I love the idea, the vision that was behind that. A lot of public input went into that.
Yes, a lot.
You know, as to any great idea, there's a few little quirks along the way that need to be worked out. But tell us about that and maybe where we're at in that process.
What I'm so grateful for in this community is the level of dedication and involvement that our residents have. They were instrumental in putting together that vision for what Center City form-based code could be. And they've been instrumental in helping us work out the kinks. And I want to fully commend Councilmember Hickman, who represents Ward 4, and Councilmember Holman, who represents Ward 7, for their work on that committee as well. So we've recently had first reading of the changes that have been recommended, and we'll have second reading soon. For anyone that wants to review what those specific changes are, it'll all be on the city's website, and I think it'd be easier to look at the Planning Commission agenda from July 8th than it would be try to sift through all of the City Council agenda from July 9th. But I'm excited about it. I think people believe in the vision of what it can do. We have seen some amazing developments go up that it really helps, you know, visualize and see tangible results of what it can be. But we had some kinks to work out, and we're working on it. And I love that we've been proactive. You know, we had the administrative delay in place while we worked out those kinks, so I appreciate all of the residents and developers for being patient with us, because we want to do it right. We all believe in the vision of what downtown Norman can be. And I'll tell you, when I moved here in 2005, I'm from Kansas, like I said, so I've been to Lawrence several times, got a lot of KU family, and when I drove down Main Street, I distinctly remember going, wow, this is Main Street. And, you know, and Campus Corner is its own place. But what has happened, this transformation, and I'm not the only one who sees it. You know, I've talked to people who've lived in Norman their whole lives, and I can't remember who it was, but he's like, this is the best I've ever seen downtown Norman look. I go there now, and not just because somebody wants to have lunch at a Pacific, because I want to be down there, and that's exactly, I think, the environment we're trying to create, and Center City is a piece of that. We just need to work out the kinks, and we're working on that. And again, I really appreciate Councilmember Hickman and Holman for their work on it.
Yeah, and I love their leadership with the involvement of citizens coming back to the table to reimagine and make sure that the vision there is really truly implemented the way that they had thought.
And it lines up. You know, so often you'll have this and then you don't talk to that, but we're at the table together, and that kind of feedback as well is really important. Has really helped the process move along.
You know, I think a really neat thing about Norman, you mentioned downtown, but we have some really unique business districts around our community, one of which you helped start.
Yeah, I'm a little partial to that one.
Yeah. Eastside Business Association, but there's others, and I love that regardless of where you're at in Norman, there's something for everybody.
There is.
Depending on whatever you're in the mode for at the time and the mood for, you can go to wherever part of town to shop, eat, just enjoy Norman as is.
Well, I think of the same thing with housing opportunities, because you can live on a loft on Main Street or go buy 20 acres in East Norman and have a farm, and you can do it in the same city, which I think that's really special. You know, my husband and I have different plans for retirement, and I'm more of the loft on Main Street where I don't need a car and can walk to all these great community events. I'm working on winning over to my vision, because that's where I want to be, and we have those options now, which is something very special, and I'm sure they'll only continue to evolve as we move along.
We've got something for everybody. I mean, being the third largest city in the state, as you mentioned, we're right up there with Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and so a little bit of everything for everybody, uniqueness all the way around, which is, I think, really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So, just a few weeks on the job, you have one of your very first initiatives that's going to come into existence very, very soon. Tell us about that.
I'm so excited. It's called Tourists for a Day. So my father lives in Oslo, Norway, and I visited him last fall for a big birthday that he had. And he was telling me about this event called Tourists for a Day, because they have so many great museums, and for them public transportation is so good and a little more expensive because it is so good that you don't even need a car. And so for one day, they make public transportation completely free, all the museums and attractions completely free, so you get to remember what it's like to really enjoy your town at no cost.
Wow.
Because so often, you know, when you're like, oh, I've got a long weekend, Where am I going to go? We don't even consider staying in our own town. And so you forget what's there. You know, when was the last time you were at the Moore Lindsay House?
Yeah, it was before a downtowners meeting, right? I mean, I only went there because of a meeting, not really to look around and enjoy the opportunity that they presented.
And I've been so encouraged by all of the entities and businesses that have signed on to help. The university's been a big piece of it. Our museums are a big piece of it. We've got a lot of attractions are offering discounts. The city of Norman Parks and Recreation is doing a whole thing at Westwood. And we've got a concert at Legacy Park. It's just going to be a great day in Norman. And another one of those occasions where if you are bored in this town, it is your own fault.
That's right. And so that's July the 27th, right?
Correct. And it's all day, and we're going to start promoting it more and more, and you're going to see what I've asked them to do, and hopefully we'll see it happen, is a map of Norman with a little star of where all these things are going on, and then a calendar or a schedule of events, because some goes on from 4 to 6, and some is, you know, just different times. And with this schedule, you could seriously plan an entire day of free fun or discounted fun right here. And I'm really excited about it.
Well, we're very proud to partner with Visit Norman, the city, the Transcript, to help promote this event, because I think it's going to be a ton of fun.
And I really appreciate the collaboration. You know, the sidewalk sale and the tourists for a day have all been us working together to support our community, from our businesses to our residents, making sure they realize what an awesome town they live in. I value those collaborations, and again, we can do more when we work together.
So you mentioned the sidewalk sale, July the 18th through the 20th. This is the second annual, because we just started, I think, after a 20 or 30 year interlude of not having
I didn't realize
one.
it was that long.
It had been a while, so last year was the first reboot of it, and here we are the second year. I know there's a lot of businesses that are really excited and engaged there. I would encourage people to get online, whether it be the Chamber's website, Visit Norman. There's going to be a map, kind of like you mentioned, on an app that people can go check in while they're there shopping. Those that get around all the business districts the most, you're going to, I think, have an opportunity to win some prizes, so be looking for information there.
I'm a big fan of shopping either way, but if I can support small business and win prizes, I'm all in.
Win-win for everybody.
That's right. And I think it's important to get out and shop even more in a concerted effort in the summer. You know, love or hate the fact that we are a college town, there is a noticeable dip in sales tax revenue over the summer. And I think these small businesses are counting on us to do our part, and I'm excited to have a fun event around it.
Well, as we begin to wrap up our conversation, I've got nearly 1,600 members. That includes thousands of employees and even more families. But what can they do to help you implement your vision and be more engaged in our community?
Well, I was going to say, stay engaged. You know, come to the meetings, and even if you're not wanting to go to City Hall, maybe you've got kids that you're juggling or anything like that. Well, I'm very proud of our YouTube channel, having a 12-year-old that's into YouTube as well. I was like, but I find streams sometimes better than the television channel, so you can watch it from anywhere. And that's great to watch, but stay on top of the issues. You know, the Transcript does a great job of covering your local news, and there are some major things that our community has the opportunity for and challenges that we need to face. And it's so much easier to be an elected official and represent people when you know what they want. So reach out to your elected officials. You know, we use social media a lot to do informal polls and get the pulse of our wards, but take the initiative. Send us an email, you know, phone call, schedule a meeting. And that's another great part about local government. It's easier to have a cup of coffee with your council person than it is your congressperson.
That's true.
So stay engaged and let us know what you're thinking. Let us know how we can help. Everyone is on council because it's a labor of love. It really is, you know, and we want to do the best job that we can, but hearing from people is so important, and staying engaged and getting out and enjoying your city. We work so hard to make these projects become a reality, and we want to know that you're enjoying it. So every once in a while, instead of just sending us a complaint, send us a attaboy on that one too. But it's great, you know, the more engaged that we have, the better we represent our city.
I think developing relationships and partnerships are so critical to our community's overall success. And you do that by getting to know each other.
Yep.
And so whether it's social media, face-to-face, an email, whatever, there's a myriad of different ways. So thank you for that encouragement, and I hope that people do get engaged and become involved. The whole idea behind this video and this email that we're going to start doing is Impact Norman. We want our businesses and our community to be part of that impact. So I appreciate that.
Fantastic.
Is there any other final thoughts before we wrap up today?
Oh, no, I just appreciate the invitation. I appreciate you doing your part to engage residents, and I value our partnership as well. You know, like I said, when the business community and the local government and the nonprofit government and the university and I mean, we can make a laundry list, but when we work together, we're stronger together. And I believe in the best Norman possible, and together we can make that happen.
Agreed. Well, we look forward to partnering with you. We're excited about these next 3 years, and so excited that you're joining us on this first inaugural Impact Norman newsletter. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Well, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in today. We really appreciate it. We hope that you enjoy these monthly emails that you're going to be receiving from us, talking about policy, talking about ways that you can become more involved, and the bottom line, how you can make an impact in Norman. So again, while this is a monthly email, make sure that you take advantage of our texting platform. Text Norman Chamber 1, the number 1, to 95577. Until then, we look forward to seeing you for the next edition of Impact Norman.